Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I brought a page that I found on the KDHE website about the updated quarantine that they're putting out. The state's actually putting it into effect, the 10-day time frame into effect today. The 7-day they're not putting into effect until Friday, I believe. I spoke with Dr. Farmer, to kind of get his take on it. I emailed everybody that's in my emergency preparedness region, so that would be Pawnee, Barton, Rice County, Saline County, and McPherson County is in my preparedness region, just to see what they were planning to do with the quarantine. Saline County is only going to offer the 10-day quarantine. They're not going to offer testing for the 7-day one. McPherson County said they were going to offer the testing, but they will not allow people to test until day 7. Barton County is only doing the 10-day, not offering the testing. I did see that Pratt County is only doing the 10-day, not offering the testing. I didn't get an answer from Rice or Pawnee County to know what they are doing. McPherson County's reason for testing on day 7 versus day 5 was because they've seen an increase in people becoming symptomatic and testing positive well after day 5. So they don't feel comfortable with people testing on day 5, getting a negative, and then being released from quarantine to become sick a handful of days later and have exposed a bunch of people. So that's why they were going to have theirs be test on day 7. And then the test has to be a PCR. It can't be one of the rapid antigens. It can be a rapid PCR, but it has to be a PCR test.
How many cycles are they doing on that PCR test?
I don't know, honestly. So I have not put any of this into effect yet. I wanted to have a group decision on it prior to making any statement. They do have, KDHE has given us a couple of graphics. So one says that we've adopted the CDC guidance and has the outline of the testing to be released from quarantine and just a 10-day. They also have a graphic that is just for the 10-day quarantine. Regardless of the quarantine being shortened, everybody still has to self-monitor for the 14 days because the incubation period has not changed. It's still 14 days. They're just releasing people 4 days earlier.
And by doing the testing, you basically only get out of quarantine 2 days earlier.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's worth it.
And I think that's probably the reasoning for Pratt and Barton and Saline County just saying just quarantine for 10 days and not making people go have a test. And it also may be a little less confusing for people. I mean, because I know that a lot of people don't understand the difference between the PCR and the antigen test. They think, oh, I'm just going to go get tested, and they don't know what facility does what test. So it's going to be, they're going to have to ask before they have a test done too. Because we won't be able to accept an antigen negative. It has to be a PCR negative.
PCR.
Yeah.
So is that not a quick test?
So Pratt County has the rapid PCR, but I do know just from week to week, sometimes they have trouble getting the test kits in and they don't have a massive availability of the test kits. So then they will kind of triage people to decide who gets a rapid one and who gets the one that takes 24 to 72 hours to come back. So typically most places it's a 24 to 72 hour test. Sometimes it's coming back within 48 hours, but we just tell them that time frame because if they get a lot of tests in one day, it's going to be the longer end of the time frame.
If they're available, though, the
Yes.
1 hour test in Pratt is the PCR test.
Yes, and if they have enough test kits, they'll test everybody with that one, but other than Pratt, I don't know around here who else has a rapid PCR test.
There isn't anybody.
There
besides
isn't,
Brett.
yeah, I was gonna say, everywhere that we've seen rapid tests come through, it's been an antigen test.
So if we adopt this 10-day quarantine and don't adopt the 7-day quarantine, because I mean, I can see how, I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but I'm sure we might have 2 or 3 individuals in the county. So if we adopt the 10-day quarantine and they talk to you about the 7-day and you go to Pratt and get the PCR test and comes back negative and shows it to you, then would you release them on day 7?
I mean, I can,
Okay,
by the KDHE guidance, I can do that.
okay.
But
But I don't think we ought to, if, we ought to just do the 10-day, but then.
I think it would be easier for everybody to understand if we just, so they, like I said, they have that graphic that says we're partially adopting the CDC guidance, we're allowing a 10-day quarantine versus a 14-day.
Okay.
And that would be what I would post on our Facebook page, and then I can send the graphic to Nita to have posted on the county website. That way it's out for everybody, and then the only thing that I would have to change on the quarantine orders would just be the dates, the time frames.
Is that your recommendation that,
I would prefer to just do the 10-day,
Okay.
because like you said, I don't know how many people are gonna think that it's worth going to go get a test to get out 2 days later.
Yep.
And like I said, they're still, even though they're gonna be released on day 10, they're still going to need to self-monitor for the extra 4 days just to make sure they don't become symptomatic, so that they know to go back home. Since and this is just for contacts as well. The isolation period is 10 days if you test positive, so they can't test and get out. They have to do the whole 10 days. And household contacts, instead of it being a 24-day quarantine, it will be a 20-day quarantine.
Okay.
So it'll be 10 days of isolation with the person that's sick as long as they recover, and then 10 additional days of quarantine to make sure they don't become symptomatic.
Okay. So we're needing to make a motion to change our quarantine order from 14 days to 10 days. Is that correct? Is that what we're working with?
Yeah.
Are you guys good with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. The only thing is, we're still going back to a 14-day quarantine. I mean, that's a known fact of all communicable diseases, that there's a 14-day incubation
And
period.
they have this disclaimer across the top of it
Yeah.
saying the incubation period is still 14 days, it hasn't changed.
Right.
So every person that we're going to talk to is going to need to know, yes, you only have to stay home for 10 days, but you have to monitor yourself for 14.
Correct. I concur. Good.
All right. I make a motion that we allow the health department to change their quarantine from 14 days down to 10 days.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to change the quarantine period from 14 days to 10 days for the health department on their consultations with COVID positives. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. When did you say that would come into effect?
The state of Kansas is actually doing the 10 days starting today, so we can actually start doing that today with our contacts.
And those who adopt the 7-day will be Friday. I doubt it.
That's what the state is doing with their contact tracers. So for them to get everything changed in the system, they said it was going to take that time frame, so. And then I also brought a request for a raise for Emily Moore.
Clear.
Is this just the yearly stuff?
Yeah, she was hired in July, and with everything that was going on, I spaced it, so, yes.
You guys didn't see this?
Most.
Pardon?
We have.
All right, I make a motion that we do a step raise increase for Emily Morris at the health department from range 11, step 2 to range 11, step 3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to increase Emily Moore from range 11, step 2 to range 11, step 3. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
You guys have any other questions related this morning?
What's our count on positive cases?
Yesterday was active, right around 30, and total, I think, was like 277.
So we've come down a little bit from a week ago.
Yeah.
And we've had five deaths.
Or mainly most of them out of the rest of them.
I wonder why there was a delay in reporting deaths, to the state. They were talking about November.
I know that some of it was because of death certificates from hospitals, like the coding on those being delayed because of the amount that people didn't have hospitalized, but I don't know why else.
Yeah.
Do you agree with what's going on with the deaths in the rest home and that they don't necessarily have to be in Stafford County residents?
I don't know.
So some of them were out of county, but they were lifetime residents of Stafford County. Some-
No, they're not residents of Stafford County.
But they're in the rest home in Stafford County.
They died there.
Oh.
It's not a good deal.
No, it's not.
We might ought to talk about that in executive session. You're doing a good job, Jim.
Thank you for coming in. I make a motion that we accept the tax roll corrections.
Second. Have a motion and a second to approve the tax roll corrections. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Mr. Phil.
Yes, right with the cross. Up on Northwest 70th Avenue and Northwest 170th Street intersection of Wood Avenue and West.
70th Street.
North Meridian and then back to the east off of Meridian, 1 mile, straight off the water mile.
So that'd be 170th Street.
And there's
And it is up at 25. Yep.
which one you want to do first, up there, or the right way there?
Let's do it.
So is anywhere on here, does it tell what we're gonna pay and what they're gonna pay?
We pay 10% on that bridge.
Yeah.
It costs us 10% of that.
So is this, do I have to add all these up for a total, or is there a total on there?
Yeah, it's right at the bottom, this base bid totals. That very bottom line cost.
Yeah, but I mean, do I need to add all these baseline totals together to come up with a
No.
total?
No.
No, there's 3 different bids.
Three deaths.
And then there is the engineer's estimate is the first one. That's what he estimates the bridge to cost before it goes out.
Yeah,
And then L&M bid at 171,
okay.
or 172 basically. Then Reese Construction out of Saline bid 183. And then Don Winger, Wichita was 232,000.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion, we issue a county permit number 2020 is it 1209?
Yes.
A utility permit application for Stan Can exploration.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the utility permit. What's that number again?
2020/1209.
2020-1209. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
So L&M is from where?
Great, Nick.
Braden.
Which bridge is this again that we're doing?
It is southeast on 20th, about 2.5 miles, 2.5 to 3/4 south of 50 highway. Over south of Stafford. We'll be back to the west of Stafford Road.
Okay. That's the west.
It's on really low grade.
How wide is it?
How wide is the bridge? It'll be 40 foot. It'll be 40 foot long and 20 foot wide.
Okay, so it's a pretty good size bridge.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation here?
I would go with L&M.
Not a great bid. When would they be able to start on that?
They'll start mid-February, so they should be done well before harvest. They'll build the bridge and then we will do the dirt work. We could try to keep the costs down anymore. And any money we have left over off of this, we can put toward that low water crossing up there. And that bridge that we're taking out.
When do you think you'll start on that?
I would like to start on as soon as we get the stuff and then get it out. We'll do the pipe and maybe 3 bottom and then see what we're going to do. Somebody else will try to do the concrete work. We're not,
Yeah.
what we used
Have
to
you
do.
talked to Chris about that?
Yeah, I give him a heads up on it.
You need to be interested.
Yes.
Okay. You guys, are you all right with that?
Yeah, I am.
All right, I'll make them, do I need to give the dollar amount?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion that we go with L&M Contractors for $171,995 for building the bridge.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go with the L&M contractors bid of $171,995 for bridge replacement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Engineer, one for the state, one for us, and
Yeah.
not sure where the other one would go.
You're fine.
To where?
You're fine.
Well, there's a plan if you want.
No. Conflict on that.
No.
We did go down yesterday, Monday, and started, and the bridge is for that, ready for them to start anytime they want.
Several months ago, there was a bridge that you said the decking was going bad on, just west of Sylvia, between Sylvia and Stafford. Or Zenith and Stafford. You'd pull the deck out because people were driving on around the road closed signs.
This is the bridge we're talking about.
Oh, okay. I thought it was north of, but it's actually
No,
south.
it's south.
Okay.
No, this bridge was, the state told us to close it immediately when this first came up, because
Because they put
the
a,
piles had rotted off.
they put a steel,
We put a seal.
yeah, on the wood subframe. And so now we all do.
Yeah, and now we all stand.
Okay.
They were doing the bridge inspections, and we have one south of Stafford, and then back to the west of Stafford Road. There's on the Minnesota, that stands for Wausau. They cannot get in to do the bridge inspection, so they just send it to the state, and the state will put this, lump this up a bunch of other bridges that will be for an underwater inspection. So this will, it'll cost us 20%, is what it will cost, it will cost share of this, but the state takes care of getting things done. They get a bunch of these and then they lump them all together for something. So,
Is that for that little bitty bridge, or that slough?
yeah, right there south of McFadden's,
Yeah.
where all that marshy stuff is.
Yeah.
And it's full of cattails and whatnot, so, yeah, it is.
But I mean, I think like a year or two ago, I went by there and there was actually a whole some of the deck.
Yes, and we ended up putting a steel deck on that, we ended up taking the deck off, throwing holes and then, yeah. And that's,
But I mean, what do you do with that area there? I mean, where it's always wet. I don't know if you could ever get anything done.
yeah. It's actually our bridge, the smaller structure over there, going to walk on, we thought we should let it, where that's at, it's very easily concrete, basically. Don't pull out, there's two pipes in it that ever tried to have pretty decent. So far, it hasn't been, when I ordered the pipes, it was dry. And it hasn't been since.
Because it's just a square concrete culvert now, isn't it?
Which one?
The one that you want to pull out, put the pipes in?
No, it is a little wood structure. And it goes, the road comes like this and then goes up and then
Yeah.
goes back down, yes.
Maybe after Bryce gets put into office, we can do a day and run around and
Okay.
look at some of these projects. I'd like to see, have Clay and Bryce see that bridge, you know, that you took me to up there by Career,
Oh,
where the
wait.
river's running around. Of course,
Yeah,
that's
we-
more of the township issue, isn't it? Because it's eating into the township road.
Well, yeah, that one is, and then the other one is skewed out there on the south, they call it something, I can't remember. The engineers can't remember the name of what it is, where it starts eating out into the bank, going north of it. Yeah, I mean, that other one is actually stabilized a little bit, but to actually go in there and do the kind of work with the channel. There's terminals in there, wildlife and parks and division of water resources from the Corps of Engineers. I mean, it's just,
Even though you're wanting to put it back to the channel it used to be in.
Might be some critter in there.
Yeah.
well, and that was another reason why this had to be done, because it was a safe thing, but for a long time when we built bridges, we didn't have to go through all this sewage. So other than that, you guys have any?
No. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get all the stuff?
Yes, we need to have some.
Anything for us, Mike?
Any correspondence? None.
I sent snail mail within a day or two of the last conversation. And then earlier this week, I emailed it just to make sure, but nothing's came back as far as I know.
I didn't have to sign that.
Yeah,
The bridge thing.
Nope.
where-
No, I didn't see it. I thought that was,
Okay. With Kurt.
yeah, there was no seal.
is there anything going on over there new?
If you want that right away.
Not that I know of.
Does the insurance guy, he always goes over there, does he know to come over here? I wonder.
What was
Nina,
that?
Our
Nina,
health insurance?
What?
did you call Mike to tell him we were over here?
You?
The health insurance guy.
Oh, yeah, Mike knows.
Okay. Well, Rob and I were out front, and I didn't see him out there, and I thought, wonder if he knows to come over here.
I sent him an email.
There's a note on the door.
Is there, oh, I didn't,
Mike Milton.
Oh, my God, yeah, that's right.
Rob and I are here with Judge Johnson,
I
so
don't remember when I got to.
I'll be here for a while, but at some point, if Rob and I disappear, you know we're
I have paper.
next door. You need me?
You have something wrong?
Step raise increase?
Changing. To let you know, Greg McAllister was the deputy at Renewals. Advanced Step, he's the new undersheriff for the Saline County. So we paid rate increase from, I think it was level 8, step 2 or 3, but to a level 2. No, step 11, specifically, is what it is. It's easier to get a deputy in as undersheriff, so we filled that position first, and we're going for that.
Good.
He lacks a little bit of knowledge, but he's trainable. He fits in with the county, makes sound decisions, so I think he'd be good.
Do we need to approve that, Mark? In this? Good. Okay.
Yes, no?
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the hiring of Greg McAllister at range 11, step 2, as the deputy sheriff.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to hire,
Oh, from deputy to undersheriff.
to hire Greg McAllister and move him from deputy to undersheriff. And that would move him to range 11, step 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
So the initiation?
He's kind of had initiation. He kind of ran the show when I was sick. We had the high sheriff there, but he kind
What'd you
of ran the
say?
show down.
Can you do the minutes?
The minutes.
I make a motion that we
Before you
approve.
do.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the December 2nd meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from December 2nd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
At the meeting, we claimed all the decisions about her.
Yeah, let's see, and you had nothing to do, and then today we got 20 things on the agenda.
The way it goes. Okay, I have a resolution we need to pass. It's for the neighborhood revitalization plan. We have to pass this notice of hearing to consider public comment on proposed plans. We do that every 2 years.
What if they came to the hearing and complained about the neighborhood revitalization?
Don't want you to do that.
Has anybody ever done that? Okay.
If it saves, if it's saving the money, why would we complain?
This day and age, you never know.
I remember doing that, but I don't, never knew why.
It's part of the regulations, we just have to do it.
So this is basically a renewal?
I just wondered
Just a
what-
resolution, or a motion to approve the resolution. Okay, I make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-17.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2020-17. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
He's coming.
He's coming. We will recess until Mike gets here. Perfect.
All right. That's a good
At the last meeting, we were able to come up with some better numbers again than what we had before, so that's a wonderful thing. You're right, you're sure.
Yep, yep.
Thanks, appreciate
You bet. It's hard to remember with masks on.
Yeah, you're fine, thanks.
Yeah. All right. You have in front of you the stop loss renewals. You look at option one, that was with your current carrier. And again, the bolded is what we're looking at here, the kind of the bolded numbers on here. The first one is the annual specific premium. You can see originally they were leaving it about flat, which was good. Then they revised it and actually came down another 5,000. But we actually have another carrier who's come in and they're about 9,000 below what your current carrier is. On now that's what you pay to have coverage over $45,000 on each individual. That's that annual specific premium. The annual aggregate premium, you can see originally it started flat. They actually bumped it up a little bit. Your current carrier did, and then the companion life with PACE is about 18,000. So far, option two with PACE is coming in roughly about 10 grand better than what Fairco is. And then
Which, on the aggregate premium, is that per person or?
no, the aggregate is the umbrella over the entire group. If you look at the very next, the attachment point, that attachment point, that is each year, that's the maximum amount that you can spend on each individual between $0 and $45,000. So, for example, if you had 40 people go out and spend $45,000 in a year, that's going to be $1.8 million. Well, you've got an aggregate that you would not pay over 646. Well, it was 695 in the current year. They had dropped down to 692, but the new carrier is down to 647. So that's your ceiling on claims between $0 and $45,000.
And that cost us $18,000 for that, put that ceiling on there?
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Now, some people that have been self-funded as long as you all have, get rid of that. They put it in when you have the reserves that you have. They don't, because very seldom, I bet if we look back, you might have hit that number 2 or 3 times over the last 20 years. And if you think about it, if you're spending $18,000 to $20,000 every year, that's a lot of money. But it's also sleep insurance. If something catastrophic, pandemic, fortunately, it hasn't, from a cost perspective, this pandemic hasn't cost a ton yet from a medical standpoint, but there could be others. So I think from being a municipality and this, kind of risk adverse, that it's best to keep it in there. You can see there's a little bit difference on the administration fees as you go on down. They're going to benefit management X for a quarter on medical, 50 cents on the dental. Each one of them went up a little bit. Total is about $1.45. That's still under the market. If we go out and we look at other TPAs, we're probably, like Blue Cross will just say, for example, it's going to be $50-some from an admin standpoint. Here, you're at, but actually, I'm sorry, that's just on the admin side of things in the network. But, you add those all together on here, and you take out the $20 consulting, this is at $37. At 20, Gallagher gets 10 of that, and benefit management gets 10 of that. Gallagher's who I'm with now, I've been with the last year now. So we go on down, you can see then on your estimated fixed costs, on the revised option 1 is about 230, just a little south, 232. The new quote is 220. And then when you look at your maximum costs, you're looking roughly at about $57,000 better from a maximum exposure standpoint to go with the new carrier. It's a plug and, it's unplugging one and plugging the other one in. Your current carrier will still pay any run-out claims that come about for the next 3 months on large claims. Like typical, they would continue to do that. And then your new carrier takes over January 1. Your members don't see anything different with that change. Just in case we decided to go with that, because I thought it looked like a good option, I did go ahead and last week get needed to stop the underwriting process with this case. Had her go ahead and it's basically a disclosure statement saying, hey, we give you all the information from benefit management and stop the underwriting in case we go with that one versus going with the current carrier. So that's firm and final. Now, if you look at as we talked about the last time, we do have a couple of scenarios that are still ongoing on the plan because, a carrier, as a reminder, a carrier can do one of two things. They can either look at if there's high risk on your group, they can either build it into that specific premium, or they can do what's called a laser and increase the specific. Instead of being a 45,000, you can see that you got 2 individuals that are approved that because of what is going to, what the prognosis course of treatment is, those are going to be higher. Now, you can see what the current ones are on 1 and 2. You can see the second column is, and I apologize, that's actually the final is the Rockport one, and the second in where it says final, that's the Rockport, and then the third one is the Companion Life, the new carrier. I was able to go back to Rockport under the final and change that from 275, and they actually lowered it to 235, but it's still lower in the ballpark of where the new carrier is on that.
So were they saying that we would have to pay up to 35 before they would pay anything?
Right, on that particular situation. Yeah, and it's actually 235. I just actually got that on the way down here, that Amy with the carrier called and said the best they could do is that. I was hoping to get them down low enough that we could keep them into play, because they've been a good partner for the last few years. But ultimately, you can look at the first one, and the second one, so if you look at the second one with your current, that's just called a conditional, if it happens. The new carrier is going to put 90 on that one, so your total additional exposure above these numbers over here on this page is 867. Your total addition is if you take 45 off of each one of those. So it'd be 130 is your additional exposure on the first one, and 45 is the additional exposure there, so a total of 175. Now, that's what your reserves are for. And I don't think you need to add those into here because there's a good chance that you won't spend those. And if you do, you just earmark some of the reserves for that purpose. So you can actually, if you go back to this original page, and then option 2, and you look from a funding perspective, you can actually lower your funding for this next year about $57,000 on this. And you see the rates came down, the single rates came down, the family rates are down about almost $300, which is wonderful. We're going in the right direction, which is kind of unheard of in the world of insurance right now. But all we need to do now, I've got 2 papers to have signed if you want to go with that option 2. And then we get everything set up. I know that they're already working on enrollments and those kind of things, the changes anybody wants. So, any questions?
You have a lot of experience with that Companion Life. I mean,
I've got one group. Well, Companion Life, yes. So, this is a great question. So, see that PACE that's right underneath there? There's like what's called a managing general underwriter. That's what Rockport is right now with your Fairco, and that's what PACE is. So PACE basically is allowed to write on Companion Life paper. Companion Life is one of the biggest carriers out there. Pace takes some of the risk, and Companion Life takes some of the risk. And Companion Life, I've got a lot of groups that have been with Companion Life. I only have one currently that's with Pace. They're newer NGU that we started working with. But I don't foresee, they're gonna, Companion Life's A-rated. They're not gonna work with them unless they're paying their claims appropriately. And Companion Life's one of the biggest in the world from a stop loss perspective.
So it's not that big of a deal to switch companies.
No, it's just pull one out, plug the other one in.
And that would be your recommendation, is to go with option 2?
It would be, absolutely.
Sounds good. Mike, where's your pharmacy benefits? Is that separate?
No, it's included in this as well. If you look underneath, see under the annual specific premium, you can see it says coverage is included in medical and RX.
Okay.
That's included on both from a specific standpoint. So if somebody starts using a $20,000 a month drug right now, you're going to pay the first $45,000 of it, and the reinsurance carrier is going to pay the rest of it because RX is covered under this plan as well.
Okay, you all right with that, Bryce?
All right. I make a motion that we change our insurance from Faircode or Rockport to Pace.
Or Companion Life?
Or for Companion. Which should I just say?
Pace would be fine.
To Pace.
Okay. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to change our health insurance from Rockport to Companion Life. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I do have a question on this laser stuff, and I'm wondering if maybe we should go into executive session to
I don't
discuss.
think you'd be able to discuss anything because of HIPAA regulations. Is that what you're referring to?
We talked about the laser one as far as how that was going to go and how long longer we would be on with that.
I would think that would be okay if for,
As long as no names are mentioned.
We've done that before. We're not talking about, we're just talking about general condition.
Yeah. I'd like to go into executive session. What do we call that for? Non-elected personnel.
non-elected personnel, yeah.
For executive session for 5 minutes for non-elected personnel.
I need money here.
Commissioners Nita, Bryce, and Mike.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to go into executive session for 5 minutes for non-elected personnel to include the commissioners, Nita, Bryce, and Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
The program that you had implemented, I think it was last year, you know, where we'd like people to try the generics to see if they work. And that went over all right?
It's still, I can, next time I come, I'll bring a prescription report, but yes, it's been, we got through the initial hiccups that went on for a little bit for a few individuals on that, but from a prescription standpoint, your plan is running, outside of the potential one special med that's going on, your plan is running very good. Generics are very high. Last time I looked, it was 87, almost 90% generic utilization. So it's absolutely working. So, anything else I can help with?
Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you guys. Probably won't see you again, so have a happy holidays. Stay safe.
See you next week.
Yep, all right.
See you, Mike.
You're coming off, right?
I'm gone.
You're gone. Just couple more meetings?
Oh, January.
Oh, it's not the middle of January. Yeah, all right. The best wishes.
See you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Carolyn out there?
You want to do
I'm
your
gonna
oil and
go.
gas thing?
Yeah, we can do great.
So when we talked about this a few months ago, I was most interested in a unitization lease on the landfill. That's not on our radar really anymore.
So I got one for Mike too, I don't know if he's still here.
This lease is, we talked about the landfill per unit lease, and then this project extends down to Sandyland as our southeast border of this project. We're going to do 3D seismic this fall. On all the ground around there, I'm interested in leasing Sandyland from you guys. 160 acres under the lease, 1/8 royalty to the county, 3-year primary term, 2-year extension if elected. The lease bonus is $25 an acre. We've been able to lease all this ground around this exact lease. So everything's up for negotiation on your guys' part as far as terms of the lease. This is what I saw. And have their attorney look through the lease. The back page, this front page is basically a real standard, I call it a handwrite lease. The very back page is our addendum, 1 through 15, those are all my dry land provisions. There's lots of stuff in there. About short land and pipelines, and fences, trees, stuff like that. As far as the 3D seismic goes, we usually pay, not only do we pay the minimum or $25 an acre for the lease, but we pay the tenant. If the tenant is different from the landowner or the landowner, in your guys' case, it will be spares. We pay them $5 an acre to take our trucks over it. It's going to be after the first year, so the ground will be frozen and damage should be done. But we go ahead and pay them a little something just for going across the surface. We work with spares quite a bit in the past on damages and 3D drilling. I think that that's all credibility as far as paying them. Any questions for me?
Nope, probably didn't have Mike.
Yeah, I'm talking to Mike. Need I guess you might just put that in the next week.
Okay.
Talk about adding, subtracting something. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. You don't see Carolyn out there, do you, Bryce?
Mike's outside talking on the phone, Karen's not there.
We'll recess, Carol. I did run out of ink,
You did?
yes.
Morning.
Morning.
Nothing here for like decision or anything, just thought it would be good to keep an update of the SPARK program. And as of December 1, of the $823,000 allocation, let's see the total here. But we have like,
Did you get my email last night?
yes,
250.
so as of December 1, there was almost 300,000.
But then we
No,
got
45.
45,000 here, so we got right at 250,000.
Do you know how much is going to come over from Stafford, Julie?
Well, she's got 46,000, I mean, the payroll stuff that she had questions on, but she's got everything spent and ready and on a spreadsheet to upload to Nita.
But that 45,000 will be coming off as 250?
Yes,
Okay, so we're getting down to 210.
we're getting it down.
We're getting it down, and I think the thing that seems relevant to me that is that we're in a position we don't have to send anything back, because we're ready with salaries that are eligible. Initially, we didn't think that salaries of any budgeted employees would be eligible, but in the end, they're allowing public health and safety employees, and, well, that's where it falls for us. Public health and safety payroll, so anybody at the health department, anything that relates to overtime. The other one is law enforcement and justice, so you could, take a salary of the most expensive person at the sheriff's department, for example, and allocate that to this. Same with emergency management. So with that, there's plenty of salaries expense that can be put against this. To make sure that,
So like on the health department, they'll be able to go back to like March and figure all their, so when they get that reimbursed, then will that just go into their,
Capital improvement?
capital improvement?
I don't know what we're gonna do with it exactly.
But it'll stay with the health department? Or will it come to the county general?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far into it to figure out what we can do with it.
Okay.
If we can just drain the bucket and set it aside if we need more gowns. See, I don't know. I need,
that's a Melissa Illy question.
yeah, I need to talk to Melissa, to find out the logistics.
Yep.
So, and Carl talked to me today, in Indiana, they use spark funding to buy their pictometry again.
To do what?
Well,
Their pictometry program, we fly the county every 6 years, which we're up to do that. And he said he has a friend in Indiana that said that their spark funding paid for them to do that again. And the whole state of Indiana did it.
okay, so it strikes me though that Kansas has been hard to work with on some things that, and inconsistent, like, so for example, the generator that Phil wanted to buy under Spark, there was some discussion that Edwards County had gotten that done, but we were getting guidance that no, that's not gonna be eligible. So to me, the easy way to do that, if you need to pay for pictometry, you need to pay for a generator, great, but pay for salaries under the Spark program where they're not gonna question that. And then if that frees up more money for you to buy something that is in an area that would get questioned but has a legitimate use, then use your money to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. If we can get that put into the general fund instead of.
Well, yeah, I need to get with Melissa, and find out where I can put that payroll.
How much does that pictometry off the top of your
Carl
head?
told me it run between 65 and 70,000.
Oh.
But this is a tool that they use a lot.
That's
Yep.
it.
And I think law enforcement is
Cessna
used it,
170,
and
they fly at the county,
a grid kind of thing.
And just take pictures.
pictures.
Mhm.
There's,
Pretty
So
slick.
we're kind of doing
How
that with
often
the
do we do that?
housing piece. We had some guidance that
Set those
housing
up
would
here.
be eligible, but it was enough
So
in
that's
this
how
gray
they
area
know
that
if
it
you
was
built
getting
a, that's how they
complicated, so
know
why
if
not
you
put it
built a
in
portion of
salaries?
your house
Yeah.
in the country.
It's very useful to the appraiser and the sheriff's office.
That's good.
They can see where a guy might be hiding at or whatever.
I don't know how tall the back fence is.
Yep.
So, yeah, so it was just, we talked about housing. There was discussion in those early webinars through the summer and whatever, that housing was a piece that could be eligible. But when it really got into using it in housing, the way we need to use it in housing, it wasn't fitting into the box easily. So it's another one where let's just put it into the salaries that are clearly eligible. We can still disseminate, the part that we had designated as a program, which included food assistance. So we have 6 different agencies in Stafford County that we Economic Development actually wrote the checks yesterday to disseminate to the ministerial alliances and the core program. And 3 ministerial alliances, 2 core programs. Oh, and the food bank in St. John operates separate from the ministerial alliance. So those 6 programs got the sum of $18,500 through economic development. Well, by doing it that way too, we also aren't having to do as much, like they would have had to, if we'd done it as we're reimbursing everything else, they would have had to have bought food first and then get reimbursed for it. And dealing with some of the, we can this way more block grant it and allow them a little more flexibility in how they use it. They can buy a freezer, for example. A couple of them wanted to buy a freezer, things like that. So, which should have been eligible under the program, but it gets, again, sometimes the weeds of it are messy. If we put it in the salaries and just kind of pump the program, I think it will work better for Stafford County.
Now, do these food banks, do they need an EIN number?
Well, by doing it this way, we can not worry about those kinds of formalities, you know, like, we're not making a spark disbursement to them directly. Essentially, the county has made a grant to Stafford County Economic Development, which in turn disseminating it in the spirit of spark, but it's not, they're not directly getting a spark grant, if that makes sense. So what I talked about with you is like trying to get a hard and fast like cutoff date for the cities and schools to submit their expenses so that if they aren't fully utilizing their allocation, that the county can capture it with their expenses.
And the 23rd will be the next AP run here. So that's the date I told her, because then that would give us another week to where we could switch the rest of it, if we need to. It may come down to where those schools use every dime. I don't know.
Well, it seems kind of funny, whereas the Kansas Food Bank, you know, got tons of money. And why can't a local food bank, you know, fall in that same category? And
Honestly, this thing probably allow them flexibility too.
Yeah.
If food is not the biggest need, we've got a little bit of that feedback too, that there are so many places focused on food needs, but that may not be the highest need that some families have, maybe more in utility assistance, which the ministerial alliances do
Yeah.
as well. And I think this method will give them a little more flexibility to pay utility bills, that's where the.
well, not only that, but clothing as well. I mean, there's children running around that needs coats and shoes.
So. But, yeah, we, if there's any questions?
We're getting it done as much as we can. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, people will start, the entities will.
So at what point do you, I mean, you guys have to have a little bit of, time to where if there's so much allocated for this town or for this school and they're not going to spend their money, then you guys have a little bit of time to figure out where other place can we spend that money?
Well, we're ready to go with salaries. We've
So
already
I
got
mean, do
it.
you need a week? I mean, is it a week before the deadline that you guys do the salaries and then
If
the
we
school?
cut them off on the 23rd, I know the next batch of checks you sign, that's it for the entities with their spark funding. We can do another little AP run, which we usually do 2 AP runs right in a row at the end of the year to clean up as much as we can.
Yeah.
We can do our final one on the 30th and get the rest of that.
Okay.
When is the deadline?
Is it the
The
30th?
30th.
So are you gonna set a deadline like the 21st?
Or we could even move your last meeting to the 29th. Maybe we should do that.
Oh, instead of having their last meeting on the 30th?
So we can get that check signed and cut in
I
3
feel like,
days.
I feel like telling
Kurt doesn't mind
them,
coming
2
in.
weeks from now, we've been talking about getting in receipts in for 3 or 4 months.
Mhm.
Surely, saying that.
Yeah, they know.
What
we
day's
have
the
a deadline.
29th?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Kurt doesn't mind coming in on Tuesday. They're not normally on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, we just need to get that bank account cleared out, because they'll come in and sweep it.
Yeah. So is the 21st the cutoff? And if they don't have their stuff in by the 21st, then it's,
It's that,
I think
It's their
that's a
deal.
reasonable approach.
okay.
I've been trying to communicate with the cities and so forth, so, you know, some of them are pretty much on track. to
the schools are the ones that are, some of them still have quite a bit.
But if the cutoff is the 21st, it needs to be the 21st for everything. Don't make any exceptions for anybody with a good reason, because then you'll have everybody else when we do it.
Yeah.
If the
No, it'll
21st
be-
is it, the 21st is it.
Oh, that's, correct, yeah.
Yeah, they have to have their stuff into us by that Monday before, so the 21st. So I can get the vouchers done and we can get them.
And I don't care if we move our meeting to the 29th, 30th. don't
I don't really
matter.
see what difference it makes, so.
I mean, after the.
Well, the
after
30th is the
after
last
getting
day.
receipts, unless you're
Well,
trying
even on the
to.
30th,
If I have my deadline on the 21st, I could have ours done by the 23rd too.
Yeah,
Because like I said, we are ready.
okay,
We
Let's
just
just do it
need
then.
a dollar figure to
Just
fill
leave
in,
the normal.
basically.
okay,
So hopefully we can get it all tied down the 23rd.
okay.
I think that's just leave it alone.
Because most of the entities are real good about getting their vouchers to me and their bills, and so, I think if we just keep handing them,
Mhm.
I mean, it's up to them to do it, we can't do it for
And
them.
the thing is, I've been trying to also coach them on, well, this works for the cities, not so much the schools, but they also can work with a salary, you know, so if they're also having trouble finding the right, I don't know, some of it was like construction and bathroom type things, and you gotta get contractors in and so forth, you know, if that's not going as well as you expected, you can also take your highest cost police officer and put that as your salary expenses eligible, and to me, that's, it's the same thing.
Okay.
The schools have, well, Stafford School is pretty well spent theirs down. 350 and 351 still have quite a bit in theirs. Of course, City of Stafford, which Julie said they were on, City of St. John is done. Seward's done. I haven't gotten anything from Maxville. Hudson's done. And then we've got 28,000 left in ours, which, yeah, so. But it's those 2 schools that have, and the City of Stafford. There are 2 big numbers,
Okay.
so, but, I look at the
guess as long
schools,
as we
eat that up
keep-
in salaries, I do.
As long as they know the cutoff's the 21st. So,
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Carol. I would move that we go into executive session for 5 minutes for non-elected personnel as the Board of Health.
I'll second that. Who's gonna be here?
Bryce, needed, and the 3 of us.
Okay. And then will we adjourn after?
We will adjourn after that, Carol.
What are you going in for? Non-elected?
Non-elected personnel pertaining to the Board of Health, if you want to put that in there. Is there a second?
Yep.
Todd seconded it. Okay, we have a motion and a second for 5-minute executive session for non-elected personnel. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye. Motion carried.